Hello again from Green Island Gardens. This morning I'm going to be looking at pruning some of the earlier flowering shrubs. I get a lot of questions on how to prune shrubs best, and lots of people get confused by when they should do it and how far back they should cut them. There's a group of shrubs that flower on the previous season's wood, so it's important that you don't prune those in the spring, otherwise you're in danger of losing all the flowers on these for the whole coming season. This group of shrubs include Weigelia, Forsythias, Deutzias, Colwitzias, Lilacs, and several others, and Philadelphus as well, another lovely shrub. Behind me here, you can see we've got a Philadelphus there, and we've got a little Deutzia here. Well, it looks little because it's so swamped by the Philadelphus. These haven't been pruned for several years, and this is often the case when people move into a house or inherit a garden or manage a garden and try to keep it, but don't really know how to prune them properly. A lot of these shrubs are best pruned on a 3-yearly cycle. And by this, what I mean is going into the base of the shrub and taking out a third of the wood each year. This means that in no single year will you take all the wood off and risk having no flowers the following year. So best to prune after they've flowered. We prune them at the base of the shrub, taking out a third of the oldest wood, and then next year we will come back to the shrub and do the same thing again. So what we're going to do is go in and have a look at the structure of the bottom of the shrub and assess which ones we think we're going to cut. So we're in at the base of the Philadelphus now, and you can see quite a lot of these old, thick, gnarled branches. Just over here is a young shoot here, and this is the type of wood we want to encourage. There's another one through the back there, but very few of those at the moment because this hasn't been pruned down. So what we're going to do is have a look and take out, I would say, a third of these large branches here. And because it's growing to the left a long way and completely covering the Deutzia there, I'm going to concentrate and take a lot of the wood that side out. So we'll take certainly some of these branches out and we'll cut them right back to here. And we'll go round the shrub doing the same, taking out about 1 in 3 of the branches. And then if we span just over the other side, you can see here, we've got the same thing going on with the Deutzia. Again, very tangled, matted growth, some of it layering where it's leant over to the ground. But we'll go in and take a third of those out. So for tackling this sort of job, I've got a variety of tools here. My faithful Felco secateurs, which are only really going to be good for the smallest branches. We probably won't have many of those today to tackle, but just in case. And then a pair of loppers, but these are really small loppers. They're great if you just want to cut some branches that are just too thick for the secateurs. Lovely little tool, those. And then the extendable arm loppers, these we will use probably for most of the branches. And you can see if well oiled, sharpened, these will work really effectively. They have extendable arms, which is great if you need to go higher up into a shrub, or even if you can't reach too well in the bottom. So that's another really good tool to have on hand. Something a little bit sharper and manly for the thicker branches, lovely little Felco pruning saw. This is a lovely, lovely tool. Folds up neatly and you can keep it in your pocket and have it with you all the time. And finally, if we have some larger branches, which are too much for my arm to manage because I have long-term elbow injuries from too much gardening over the years, this is a little hand mini chainsaw. It is quite a lethal tool. They are readily available over the counter for anybody to buy. But I would say that if you're going to think about using one of these, please get some expert advice from someone who is qualified and experienced in using a chainsaw. It's really, really dangerous to just pick one of these up and go if you haven't been given any safety advice beforehand. Right, so I'm going to hand over to Donna. She's going to do a lot of the cutting under my instruction. So here we go. So Donna is right in at the base of the shrub. You probably can't even see her now, but she's got the pruning saw and we've decided that this branch is going to come out first. It's a really large one and it's leaning right over into the Deutzia. So she's using the little Felco hand saw and it's starting to go now. It's a good idea to have second person here just to help support the branch as you cut them. So that's cut now. Okay. You can see it's quite a tangled mess. And look how far across that one was going. So already we've let quite a lot of light into, and people get really nervous about cutting this much off a shrub, but don't. They will thank you for it in the end. So, yep. So Donna's now selected another one that's growing across this way. In with the pruning saw. That's it. And again, you can see a huge branch coming out. So we will carry on doing this until we've got about a third of the wood off this shrub. So 20 minutes later, and we've just about done on the Philadelphus. You can actually see where it begins and ends now, and Donna's just tidying up the cuts at the bottom. But you can see in at the bottom where roughly a third of the wood has been taken out, and next year we'll get lots of those cinnamon brown new vigorous shoots coming up, and we'll be able to take another third of the old wood out. And this will totally rejuvenate the whole shrub. Philadelphus I love, and they would always have a place in my garden, purely because of the beautifully scented white flowers. Unfortunately, the rest of the year, they don't have a lot of what I call plus points in design terms. But we've got a large garden here, so I can justify growing them. Similarly, with a lot of the other shrubs that are pruned in this way, I don't actually grow many of them in the garden. They have to give me something else other than just their flowers. So any vigelias I grow, I will choose those with the purple foliage, or there's one called Wings of Fire, which colours beautifully right through summer and into autumn. So something that has something else as well as just the flowers. So, as I said, we can now finally see the poor little Deutzia, which has been completely swamped by the Philadelphus behind. If you just have a look at what we've taken out of the Philadelphus, you'll see it's quite a substantial amount of growth we've taken off, but that's about a third of the shoots. And there's still plenty left. It still looks a really nice shape, and there's plenty of growth left there. And people get too worried about doing this, but don't be. It will rejuvenate the shrub, and it will come back with added vigour and zest next year. So now we can get into the Deutzia and see we're going to do exactly the same process. We've got quite a lot of dead wood in this one, simply because it's been covered by the Philadelphus. So what we'll have to do is take all the dead wood out first, and then we will go round and take out a third of the older branches. So, Donna, if you'd like to come in and make a start on this one for us, that would be great. You can see Donna's made a cut further up the branch, and then she's going in with the saw later, which is a good tip if it's difficult to get it out from the shrub. So, back again half an hour later, and you can see that the Deutzia has now been pruned back. We've also got a lovely clear space in front now, and you might think actually it looked nicer beforehand, but I promise you we're doing good to these shrubs in the long run. But what it's given us is a bit of an area in front, which I'm just going to plant a group of salvias in there, and they will clump up and start flowering. This is Salvia cacalifolia, and it has lovely blue trumpet-shaped flowers, which will go on right through to the first really hard frost. So I'm just going to pop those in the gap now. And the next job after that will be to prune back the berberis a bit so that we can give the Deutzia a bit more space. But it's a good idea to go round your shrub borders and really prune hard to keep on top of them, so that it looks like you're in charge of the garden rather than the garden is the boss. Fortunately, we've had a lovely wet summer, so there's some moisture here. We'll just ease these out of the pot. These were taken from cuttings this spring. Made quite nice plants already, but they're needing to be out and into the soil where they'll grow away nicely now. There we are. And the last job will be finally just to bring a watering can and give them a good drink to help them settle in. So once again, thank you very much for watching our video. Please remember to subscribe and like our channel.